Today on Typical Books, we're talking about Halloween. Happy Halloween, indeed. Today is the day, and last night was the night, Devil's Night, in fact, and we ended up going to Pumpkinferno. I didn't think that we'd get a lot of Halloween stuff in, but at the last moment, I arranged a trip to what is a little bit of a, not an annual thing, but a bit of a tradition for us to go to Pumpkinferno. So I'll have a whole bunch of photos from Pumpkinferno. And what is Pumpkinferno, you might ask? Well, the Upper Canada Village, a historical recreation fort. It's Fort Henry, I believe. It is the birthplace of Canada, and it is the edge of Upper Canada. And it is a recreational historical site, but they often do, aside from the turn of the 17th century village stuff that you would expect from the novel Choke by Chuck Palahniuk, then they also do like winter events where they light up the whole town because it is an existing town, and they do this like Christmas walk event, and I really want to see that. But this time of year they do Pumpkinferno, and they've got hundreds, if not thousands, of pre-carved pumpkins, and they're based on real pumpkins. So all of their foam pumpkins are based on true pumpkins that they molded from, and they carve all of these pumpkins. It's amazing, and I've talked about it before. I've shown pictures from it before, but this year was really extra cool for whatever reason. Maybe it's after years of not attending, it just seems extra cool to me. And being Devil's Night, there weren't a lot of people there, so it was really prime time to go. If you've missed it and you're in the area tonight, Halloween is the last night, but you can see a little bit of what it was like. And for those that aren't in the area or have never experienced this sort of thing, A Light at Night is another one. Pumpkins After Dark is another. And of course, Pumpkinferno, which does have a few off-site attractions that are similar from what I understand. But enough of that. Halloween itself. And we don't do a heck of a lot for Halloween. You know, we're older, and Halloween, as my husband often says, kind of marks the end of spooky season. And we live for this, right? This is our year-round kind of mood. And Halloween comes and you instantly get the Halloween hangover. All the fun things are out of the stores. All the fun displays in people's yards get taken down, and it's just not fun anymore. If this could just extend another month or two, I'd be happy. So a few books that you can read this season or any season to keep the Halloween spirit alive. We have Susan Musgrave and Carol Evans. Carol Evans illustrating, Susan Musgrave, the celebrated Canadian poet and author, wrote this years and years ago, Haghead. And it is a Halloween story I highly recommend, not only because of the cute Halloweeny story, and it's got kind of Halloween tree vibes in a way, but it is just beautifully illustrated. And I used to have a large picture of the Haghead itself and the trick-or-treaters, and it's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful artwork that I just love. And it's like Norman Rockwell level of Halloween imagery. So if you can get yourself a copy of Haghead, I highly recommend that. And now for 3 books that I like reading around this time of year, and I've talked about them all before, and one needs no introduction. Well, none of them really do. Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury, a classic of the season, and something that a lot of people read every single year. I read it most years. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year because I've got a whole novel to read. A lot of these are really short, like Haghead, and fun to read all in one day if you have nothing better to do, or one a day leading up to Halloween. But yeah, the Halloween Tree, very important. I believe Kelsey at Simon Slashers did a Halloween tree decorating, and wonderful stuff. So yeah, there's probably someone talking about this book right now on BookTube. And Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. Not long ago, this was made into a movie, and we talked about it on the show, Dead Air, with my podcast partner Wes, Dead Air Night, and we had a real blast watching this. Neither of us had seen it before and loved it. We both ended up buying the book and reading it immediately, and I felt foolish for taking this long to get to Dark Harvest. The movie's fun, the book is way better, much more dark, and just more lyrical, more believable, and scary. And Danielle Krause's Blood Sugar. Alex at the Bookubus just recently read this and was very impressed by it. It is dark. It sticks with you. It's not fun. Well, it's kind of fun. There's things about it that are humorous, but it is dark and it is unsettling, deeply unsettling. If you've spent a lot of your Halloween time not out in the countryside, rolling around in hay rides with pumpkins galore, if you've been an inner city kid and Halloween for you is a little extra scary for other reasons, this is the book for you. This is very much razor blades and your candy apples. So before I get to the book that I am going to start reading today, with a nice cup of coffee that is flavored with Watkins pumpkin spice extract. I don't know exactly how they extract the pumpkin spice from the pumpkins, but hey, I'm no Martha Stewart. But yes, I'll be cozying up with a nice coffee in a little bit to read a book I've talked about a couple times. Everyone seems to know what I'm reading for Halloween is Clown in a Cornfield Free Church of Friendo. I've been looking forward to it for a very, very long time. But I picked up a few books recently. At the risk of this becoming a very long video, I'll just go through these a little bit quick. There was a book sale at my work, and I was shocked, as you will be too, to find a nice copy of Duncan Ralston's Womb. And I feel like I rescued it from some crazy fate. Or maybe I got in the way of somebody new to the genre or subgenre of extreme horror discovering a Canadian classic now to me. But I have the ebook. I'm very happy to have a copy of it now. A real oddity. Stephen King, this is Cycle of the Werewolf, or Silver Bullet if you like. This is in French though. Stephen King, L'Année de Loup-Garou, and it is illustrations de Bernie Wrightson. And it is livre de poche, and yeah, it is the full illustrations that you are used to in the English version, but in French. So I had said that this year I'm going to read a book in French, and I didn't want to go with some of the like Passeport kind of books that I have that are like Goosebumps. I have Le Sang de Monster and things like that, which it's kids' books. I want to read a real book. This is a real book. So sure, it's kind of like a graphic novel set up with all the illustrations, but it is a novel or novella. So yeah, I'll be reading this by December 29th. I'm looking forward to it, I might add, because I think it'll be written in really approachable approachable language. Final Girls, Riley Sager. I've meant to get to this for some time. It's a very nice paperback copy. So yeah, I was very pleased to find this there. And not that shocking considering the Duncan Ralston book. Black Donnellys. This is a Thomas P. Kelly book. Nate Henley wrote another book that I want to get my hands on about the Black Donnellys. But I think one of my father's ancestors is mentioned in this. Not one of the Donnellys, but yeah, it is an old Ontario story of a really rough and evil kind of family, or apparently evil family, that was wiped out one night in a giant fire by mob justice, by equally, if not way more evil, horrible townsfolk. But yeah, Black Donnellys. And Stephen King from a Buick 8. I read this when it came out and I enjoyed it. I don't own it anymore, so I'm pleased to have it back in my Stephen King collection. And it's like a mint hardcover. Nothing wrong with it. So yeah, all the books were like $3 for $5 or $2 each or something like that. Very inexpensive. I think I spent $15 there. Because I also bought like a French textbook. Last time I visited home, I stumbled upon these vampire novels, and there's another one, a third one at least, if not one or two more, in this series by Michael Romkey, author of I, Vampire and the Vampire Papers. The Vampire Papers is what I'm missing that go in between these two. And it may sound familiar to you. I, Vampire. Women are my weakness, or to be more accurate, I should say they are my greatest weakness. For I have many travel, books, classical music, art, excellent wine, and formerly cocaine. I admit these things without a sense of guilt. I am, as my friend Vienna says, a man with a man's contradictions. I am neither good nor bad, neither angel nor devil. I am a man, I am a vampire. And this is a story, it's a Confessions of a Vampire who approaches or is approached by a reporter that takes their confession, so to speak. Maybe it's like an interview with a vampire. It's a lot probably like An Interview with a Vampire, but with cocaine and women. I don't know. I'm very interested. If you've read this, let me know, because I'm very, very interested. I had made a mention in the live stream when seeing Stephen Carsley, who is a vast vampire reader. I'm wondering, Stephen, if you've read these. But yeah, The Vampire Papers sounds like Lestat the Vampire. Vampire Princess. Could be any one of Anne Rice. An original story by Michael Romke. Never has death been so dangerously seductive. Now, it doesn't sound like Queen of the Damned, really, I don't believe. I have finally succeeded in awakening your killer instinct. There will be many opportunities for you to indulge in your wildest desires aboard the Atlantic Princess. It is taking place on something like the Queen Mary. So, yeah, I'm very interested to get to this. I want The Vampire Papers to go along with iVampire to see how close they mirror the Anne Rice novels of Fame and Fortune. But these sound a little more exciting if you're into those seductive, exciting vampires. I prefer a modern vampire. Go figure. Maybe not something so much with the lace and arsenic. And maybe not something so much with the boners, but I don't know. Maybe there's no boners in this. I don't know. But I'm very interested. I like the typography. I like the setup. I like the look of these books. I just never heard of them before. So outside of books, we have been in and out of Spirit Halloween, like many people here, no doubt. And we had picked up the collector's boxes of some of the films that they were offering. Now, the films aren't in these. I'm sure you could pop the film in here on VHS if you care to make a copy or get one. And I know that Terrifier was available on VHS in select Walmarts in the US, but not here at all. But the closest we could come to that sort of fun is something like this. And some of these movies we'll be watching soon. Halloween 2. That is my most favorite Halloween movie out of all of them, and my most favorite Halloween movie of all time. The nightmare isn't over. I will open this up and we'll see what's inside. Okay, now we do have this sweet little box. And it being a box, it'll take me a second to get it open, I'm sure. I employed this little tool because I don't want to hurt anything. Okay. Some Halloween pins. Some Halloween stickers. Halloween 2. And this wonderful patch. And a lanyard case. The nightmare isn't over, is what it says. So that is what has come in the Halloween 2 collector's box. Trick or Treat. The classic, the film that everyone wants a sequel to, and boy do I. Trick or Treat, Michael Dougherty's amazing, amazing Halloween story. We'll open this up and see what's inside. And no doubt a lot of people's favorite. This is the Trick or Treat film that, again, I will say needs a sequel. Okay, let's see what's inside here. Oh. Nice. So we've got these little buttons. Always check your candy, as the film reminds us often. Sam lanyard. And these lanyards, you'll have a better idea of just what good quality these lanyards are, with little trinkets too. So cute. Then we have the patch. That is a great patch, actually, for kids of all ages. And I'm not going to take the Sam one out because we can actually see them very well, what they are. That's the kids. All the kids on the school bus. So yeah, that is that. And of course, Terrifier. Everyone's favorite birthday clown, as they say. Yeah, Art the Clown is a real hero nowadays. We haven't seen Terrifier 3 yet. We're waiting for it to come streaming or rentable, and we'll be snapping that up as soon as it happens. But we'll be watching the Terrifier movies over the next couple days to cope with our Halloween hangover, because the fun never ends when Art's in town. Let's see what's in this box. You're telling me. I love the looks of these little boxes. And you could conceivably use these as VHS cases for sure. Okay. I had to use a tool to open this one as well, because they're all just a little tight. And I'm sensing a theme here. Tickets, stickers, patches. Oh yeah, that's wonderful. This is the patch. And these are the buttons. Art the Clown goodness. And a lanyard and Terrifier with Art the Clown smiling, as it were. And let's see the stickers. This has become the most important thing, because I myself would use these as bookmarks. Terrifier, Damien Leone film, and this would make the best bookmark, would it not? Which way does it go? That way. There we go. Isn't that wonderful? Art the Clown. So before I get too comfortable with Clown in a Cornfield 3 Church of Friendo, because I'm moments away from making a coffee and curling up in a little tiny ball until the sun goes down with this book in hand, I absolutely loved Clown in a Cornfield. This is a book that kind of came out of left field, cornfield, no pun intended, as a YA book that turned out to be so much more gory and so much more fun. And it's like a B-grade slasher, more so than YA. So if you've not read the Clown in the Cornfield books, really give it a chance. I've gifted the first book in this series. I've talked at length about all of the books in the series. I really enjoyed Clown in a Cornfield 2. Church of Friendo, I hope will be darker. I haven't read or watched any reviews about it, but this is the sort of cultish end to it all that I want to see. This is a series that has been on Jeopardy, as a clue on Jeopardy, for crying out loud. So I'm no doubt that a lot of people here have already read it, but I implore you, if you are looking for something to read that is Halloweeny and cool and fun and not too gory, not too sexy, I mean, just fun, plain horror with a little bit of gore. Clown in the Cornfield, the first one. I'll probably be singing the praises of this one and have high hopes for this in my books of the year. So we'll see. But Pumpkinferno. Pumpkinferno is like a hour-long drive out of town from here. So it's not really that approachable. It's not like going to Saunders Farm, which is a little bit closer. And it's not like just like walking around Taffy Lane, I think it is. There's a street here in Ottawa that everyone decorates quite a lot. You know, that's nice for a 10-minute diversion, but I want like an evening. And you can make reservations at the restaurants here too, which I haven't done at Pumpkinferno. On site, they have a few cafes and a real restaurant. So maybe some year we'll do that and I'll report back. But for now, all these beautiful photos of our walk through Pumpkinferno this year. We start our visit at Pumpkinferno by entering the maze after having a coffee and a little bite to eat. And we're greeted by some like family camping outing kind of stuff. But then the thing that made my husband say, maybe you should grab some video here, were these bookish things that greeted us after the first sort of family intro to Pumpkinferno. It was this sort of storybook fairy tale land. Now, we'll have some more close-ups of how these are constructed with the pumpkins, but these, you might be looking at them saying, well, these just look like little light shows, like little things. No, they're pumpkin carvings of Hickory Dickory Dock and Jack Be Nimble and all sorts of fairy tale bookery here. It really caught my eye at how much artistry is put into these particular ones, especially this. I love this sort of Huck Finn looking thing. And yes, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Beautiful stuff. Then we got into some like monsters and mayhem with some medieval archers and centaurs and all sorts of wild beasts, of phoenixes, and what looks like to me the Loch Ness Monster. Absolutely beautiful stuff. I love this gargoyle looking thing, just really imaginative and beautiful. Then there's a few more interpretive places. I have this up for your pausing pleasure so you can read the whole story about the Hoof Lady, much like our Slipmouth Woman. The whole town is a real town, was a functioning town at one time, and it is a recreation town, so it has all these beautiful buildings. So from the 17th century to the 80s, they have like these rock and roll kind of sections with music blaring. And I didn't keep the 9 to 5, what a way to make a living song. But they had this CD, oh my gourd, a bony Gordman Walkman player thing. And then as you travel down Albert Street, you see some of the older houses there that are decorated up and all the pumpkins in their pumpkin-y glory. There are pumpkins all over. It's about a half-hour walk, unless you're really motoring and not looking around. It's about an hour and a half walk if you're stopping to take pictures. But you can't not stop and admire all of these pumpkins. They're everywhere. They're in the trees. They are literally everywhere. There are some real pumpkins, but most of these, as you can see, are those foam molded pumpkins. And they are put together and then lit and sometimes in sync. Like this area is an area of like a mad scientist lab or something like that. And they've got some ooky spooky laboratory music playing in the background. And every so often there is a eatery like this little Cauldron Cafe that I really want to visit, even though I'd already had something to eat at the Village Cafe. But they have this little fashion show area showing like more contemporary hippie fashion kind of horror icons. This Pumpkin Peaks ski chalet area. And again, driving home the idea that there are pumpkins literally everywhere. Coming down from the ski chalet, of course, you've got some winter themed. And this shows again how those pumpkins are smushed together to make these grand things like cemetery gates. Amazing cemetery gates, I might add. I was very pleased by this point in the walk to see some like horror. And we have a ghost and some cemetery things, haunted children singing in the cemetery creepily. It was very creepy and it was very creepy looking. And there is an old pioneer graveyard nearby, so it felt extra macabre. I really enjoyed some of the extra spooky bits in this area of the tour. Little bats, so cute. Little fella peeking out from a frame like a ghost would in a haunted house. It is wall-to-wall pumpkininess, but it is just a gorgeous walk too, because there are cornfields all around, there are beautiful trees to look at, and all of the old architecture of houses everywhere. It's just set up so wonderfully. And of course, what could you do without some Dracula, some Haunted Mansion action, just a story to be told around every corner. And of course, some really cool interpretive sections. The smoke dancers and the significance of faceless figures in corn husk dolls. You can pause that and read it more, but these indigenous displays were very, very cool and something new, I thought. I don't remember seeing these in previous installations, so I really love this extra beautiful stuff with a real story to be told, and a scary story too. So yes, pumpkins galore. Some of these seem to be real. It's hard to tell. There are some real pumpkins hidden amongst the walk, of course, but these also show off how many different real pumpkins they mold, because even if these are all foam, they are all based on a real pumpkin somewhere that grew once. And they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, let alone the ones that are used to make like giant displays like the 80s display. This is just a whole bunch of pumpkins in front of a cornfield. In this little family area that exists, there are a few other displays, of course, about autumn and fall, and it has a lot of like little rest areas. and photo areas and a really cool shadow theater. So you or the kids could make like shadow puppets and get really cool photos, and a chalkboard where everyone can leave their mementos. This picture of me and my husband took at a little photo booth. There's a little skee ball where you throw pumpkins into pumpkin-shaped holes if you haven't had enough pumpkin-y goodness, and other photo areas where you can just take a photo. Beautiful little spots, and rest zones as well. So it's just a cute little stop, all the while surrounded by pumpkins galore, like everywhere else. And it's all behind this little corn maze area. Gorgeous. So there are these real pumpkins in pie pumpkins that are painted by school children in the area. And I was very pleased to walk in, and for a moment there was no one really in there. So I could get some photos of just how many there really are in here, which it was very, very cool to see. I always like seeing them. We kind of walked through there a little bit fast. I usually stop to get even more photos of these because there are some very creative ones and spooky and cute ones. The Eiffel Tower was quite big. You can see it here against a gigantic tree, how tall it really was. And it was about lovers. So they had John and Yoko here, and they're famous-ish around Ottawa because they stayed here during their bed-in. These owls were beautiful, and the middle owl with its wings spread was really the mascot this year. It was in all the flyers, and I can see why. Just absolutely beautiful and lit so artistically. I really love the owls. For the owls are not what they seem. They had a few Twin Peaksy things if you really think about it. But yeah, there was a huge pirate ship, which I did not get in all of its glory, but there's little frescoes of pirate daily life, the old ones perhaps, and just maybe some rum and random piratey things. The pirates themselves seemed to be oddly absent, but there were pirate sounds as you exited the walk. And it was just so sad to see it go. So we went through it again for another nice leisurely stroll. And it's worth it to do so. It smelt so good. It felt so good. There were this wonderful breeze. It was just a beautiful thing with all these beautiful oranges as far as the eye could see. It wasn't too packed full of people. There were ample amenities as usual. I think next year I really want to try one of the restaurants and get the full effect. But we stopped back in at the Village Store and Cafe on our way out to see some of the books that they had for sale, which they do have quite a few, and the Mr. Ballin clothing section. There are some very comfy clothes there actually, and the pumpkin themed everything that is in the store this year. And then we leave the way we come in through the cafe entrance, down this leaf-strewn cobblestone path that wraps around this deck, and back to our car to go home. So I hope you enjoyed that little tour of Pumpkinferno, all these Halloween-y treats. You know, if you haven't picked up your Spirit Halloween collector's boxes, you can order them online usually. That's why I had to get the Terrifier one, because they were sold out. But yeah, feel free to find those and let me know what you think down below in the comments. And of course, let me know what you're reading this Halloween. If it's not Clown in a Cornfield 3, that is, or any of the other books that we talked about here today. Have an excellent Halloween and an ooky, spooky day.